Check, 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 check. Check 1, 2, 3, 4. Check 1, 2, 3, 4. Sound okay, Steve?
Good evening. It is 6 o'clock, and if you'll all take your seats, we'll begin our education forum tonight. Okay, my name is Chrissy Eastup. I am the mother of 2 students in Preston County Schools, and I will serve as the moderator for tonight's education forum. On behalf of the 4 Preston County Schools Levy Committee, I'd like to welcome you to tonight's education forum that will feature members of the Levy Committee. It will feature Board of Education candidates, and it will also feature you, the members of the public, as you ask questions about the levy or of the Board of Education candidates. The goal of tonight's forum is to provide information to the voters of Preston County so that you can make the best decision on primary election day. So, tonight's forum will begin with opening statements, and then we will move to a section where where community members can ask questions of either the Levy Committee representatives or the BOE candidates, and then we will end with closing statements. Each section of the forum will have rules and time limits to help us guide the evening. The Levy Committee will have 5 minutes to explain why you should support the levy. Each BOE candidate will have 3 minutes to explain why you should vote for them. So let's begin tonight's session by recognizing Lucas Tatham and Vanessa Hayes from the Levy Committee to speak for 5 minutes about the levy.
Thank you, everyone, and welcome, and thank you for attending and everyone that's helped put this event on. Over the next 5 minutes, I'm going to give you a quick overview of what the excess school levy is, how much it's going to cost you, and why we think that you should support it and vote for the excess school levy. So let's get started. Think of the money that comes from the state of West Virginia into the county school system as a piece of thinly sliced Swiss cheese. All right, so I think you get the point here already. The Swiss cheese has holes in it. Without an excess school levy, our school's budget will also have holes. And the excess levy plugs those holes based on the document that was on your seat, and that is the levy call. The levy call establishes 9 categories where the money can and only can be spent. So we will go over those categories. But to be clear, this is not a new tax, and this will not raise your tax. We currently have an excess school levy in place that was voted on in January of 2019, and it will expire on June 30th of this year. The levy that's on the ballot will continue the same levy that we already have in place, but at a lower rate. The replacement levy is 8% less. If you look at the levy ballot, there are 9 categories on it. The first one is general maintenance, improvements, and equipment for $1.9 million. It makes up 38% of the levy. The second category is operational expenses, which includes service contracts and service personnel positions for $810,000, making up 16%. Over half of the levy goes straight towards maintenance. Another category is health, safety, and security. This levy provides for a Preston County Sheriff's deputy to be on school property. That deputy can go anywhere in Preston County as they're needed, but they're on our property. $950,000, 19% of the levy, funds classroom teachers. Again, this levy does not provide any raises for teachers. It only funds new positions. Furthermore, the other parts are smaller categories. Technology expenses makes up 4%, curricular, extracurricular, co-curricular, and athletic activities, field trips if you will, makes up 4%, instructional supplies makes up 5%, alternative and extended education makes up 5%, and community and facility use makes up 2%. So to reiterate, this levy, the majority of it maintains our schools. So you're probably asking, how much is it going to cost me? What if I told you that the levy costs you on a daily basis less than half of what this cup of coffee cost me today? Do you believe me? Well, I printed my mom's tax record because it's a public document, and I can do that for anyone sitting here. Her house is assessed at $98,000. She has a homestead exemption, creating a net taxable value of $78,820. She pays $162.15 for the excess school levy. Divided by 365 days, she pays 44 cents a day for the excess levy. If the levy is renewed at the lower rate, she'll pay 40 cents a day, less than half a cup of coffee a day. I'm a 2-cup person. Think of what she's doing, and each of you are doing, to make our schools safe and well-maintained. But you probably ask, but you're only talking about our houses. What about our personal property? Ask me about that during the Q&A section. Our state legislatures passed a bill where any money that you pay on excess school levy for personal property, you get refunded back on your tax bill. So, why should you pass this levy? Well, frankly, it just makes good sense. The school bond that you passed in 2010 that built all new schools will be paid off in a year and a half. This levy maintains those schools and makes them safer for less than half a cup of coffee. Thank you, and we look forward to all of your questions and support and anything that you'd like to say.
Thank you, Lucas. You gave us an excellent demonstration of how the time clock will work and to be right on time. So thank you for that. So as you can see, there is a timer that will tell you when your speaking ends, and there's a handy alarm to sound to reinforce the timer. Okay. So now we'll move to the opening statements for the BOE candidates, and they will be given 3 minutes to speak. Just to explain a little bit about the ballot, there will be 2 members of these fine folks elected to the Board of Education. There will be 1 from District 2 and 1 from District 3. I will introduce the candidates by how they are listed on the ballot first, and second by their district. So each candidate will be told the district that they're associated with. So first, I'd like to start with Beth Noss from District 2 to speak for 3 minutes.
Hi, good evening, and thanks for having me. My name is Beth Noss, and I'm running for the Preston County Board of Education. I am not a lifelong resident of Preston County. However, when my husband retired from the Marine Corps in 2003, we moved here with our children, and they have all proudly graduated from Preston High School. Most of them have came back to our school area or plan to. My daughter's right now at Fairmont State getting her elementary education degree, so this is very important to me, and she wants to come back and give to the county with that. A lot of people ask me, why am I running to be at the Board of Education? It's because I believe that it takes a community to help raise our children, and that includes in our schools. And for the Board of Education, that's where their educational process starts and flourishes by the decisions that are made there. I want to be an advocate that helps to bring different ideas to the board and have a voice for the not only the students, but the staff and the service staff that are there. I believe that the development of our students rests heavily on our teachers, and they need a lot of support to be able to do the jobs that they do. They often have many children in their classrooms that they're having to attend to, and there's other needs that are out there that maybe we're not aware of. I would like to have the opportunity to look into other places and see how they're handling these same situations and maybe bring new ideas to help with that. I believe that the leadership traits that I learned when I was in the Marine Corps will help me be a positive and productive member of the team. I also believe I have the ability to help diffuse very tense situations by maintaining calm and also giving respect to both those parties that are involved while coming up with solutions to help. My level-headedness is a positive thing for any team I've ever been on. I've worked with the schools when my kids were in the classrooms. I helped with the playground set. I help yearly with the Preston County Social Studies Fair. And then I also am a referee, a coach, and a board member for the Preston County Soccer Club, which is where I probably work with most of the youth at right now. With all of this, I hope to be an advocate for the youth of our county, but also for the staff that holds the future leaders' educational process in their hands. Please vote for me on May 14th. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Beth. Next, we will have Robert McCrum as another candidate from District 2.
Yeah, the old guy's coming. Okay. I'm Robert McCrum. Teacher, principal, 37 years, and principal for 30. There's 5 or 6 people in this room that are students of mine, and 4 or 5 who are also teachers that work with me. I'm a member of a teaching family. I could make a list. It's granddad, mom, dad, both brothers, uncles, aunts, wives, and children since 1915 throughout Preston County, and I still substitute. I was a board member for 13 years already. I tried to run for House of Delegates because part of our problem is in Charleston. Money. That's where the money comes from. As was said earlier, that holes in our Swiss cheese, some of them are very bad. I'm a Vietnam veteran. I'm a life member of the Vietnam Veterans, American Legion, and also VFW. I was a board member while the state took us over and did everything they could to make us get out of our 90-year-old buildings. And well, a couple would only be 100. Well, they gave us $25 million to do it with. Well, they also said, you do this and you do that, and no, you can't do any of that. I was a board member who was told what I could do. I said, no, it didn't make any difference. The staff salaries cause a lot of problem. But second, how about discipline? Our teachers, our kids, our parents, our cooks and janitors, everybody who works for the system knows there's problems. I have a person that I talk to frequently who had a broken shoulder and a hip because a child attacked her. When I was a board member, I got moved back to a classroom for about 4 years. Had my son 20 years after my mother had me. But I also had after-school detention. Kids didn't want to be in after-school detention because they had to work either with me or with their fellow classmates. We need something like that in every school. Substitutes, I still substitute. Yes, today, I have talked to our legislature about getting subs taken care of. They say $65 million. Thank you, and vote for McCrum.
Thank you, Mac. Okay, our final candidate from District 2 is Shelley Miller.
Good evening. My name is Shelley Miller, and I am running for District 2. To give you a little bit of my background, I was born and raised right here in Kingwood, where I reside today with my husband and my daughter, who also were born and raised here. My husband is a teacher at Central Preston Middle School, and my daughter is a sophomore at the high school. After high school, I attended West Virginia Wesleyan, and I earned a degree in elementary education. Before landing a full-time position, I worked for Preston County Schools as a day-to-day sub, as well as a long-term substitute. I became permanently hired at Tiarada East Preston as a 7th and 8th grade English teacher, and then later landed my dream job of becoming a first grade teacher there at that same school. When the opportunity presented itself at Kingwood Elementary School, I took on the role as an academic coach, working with all the grade levels to collaboratively strengthen our teaching strategies together. Later on, that coaching position became a county-wide model, and I travel to all of the schools working with various teachers across the county in the same capacity. A little over a year ago, though, I had an awesome opportunity to begin working from home for an amazing company, Titan Roofing. Since leaving the education field, though, I continue to tutor in the evenings because I have always missed working with children, which has been a lifelong passion of mine. Working from home and out of the school system, it is affording me this opportunity to run for the Board of Education, something I had never even considered before. Currently, I am serving on the Levy Committee. I am Vice President of Friends of PHS, and while I was teaching, I was an active member of the WVEA. I feel not only do I have the qualifications and the experience necessary for this position, but I also feel that I'm a good representation of the majority of Preston County families. My goals for this position are three things. Number one, to always and continuously put students first when making decisions. Number two, to support not only our teachers, but our service personnel. Number three, to allow opportunities for all of our families and our community members to feel heard. One thing for certain, though, is I do not feel that I have all of the answers, nor a magic wand to fix all of the issues that are facing Preston County schools today. But I do have the dedication, drive, and love for education, and that goes to show in the many years in which I invested in this community, and I'm not afraid to work to get the resolutions that are needed. I hope you will all consider me, Shelley Miller, for District 2, at a place at the Preston County Board of Education table. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. Okay, so those are your candidates for District 2. Now we will move on to the candidates for District 3. And the first person on the ballot is Deborah Felton.
As I look out over this audience, and I want to tell everyone hi and thanks for coming, there's people here that I think I've known for at least 50 years, and I don't know how that's possible because I'm only 40. I'll try to tell the truth, Mac. All right, first of all, a lot of people in here know me and know how much I love education and kids and how long I've been involved in the system. So I'm not going to talk about me. I'm going to talk about the Levy. A few weeks ago, I was laying in bed, and I was thinking back to my Rollsburg school days and the number of high schools there were, and I was on the girls' basketball team. And there were buses to everything. I mean, buses, we were bused to Aurora, Terrata, Kingwood, Valley, and we beat a lot of those teams, but that's beside the point. And I started thinking, we had field trips, we had free textbooks, I remember having workbooks in them that had a little sticker about them being free and provided. And so I made a call to someone, I won't mention Mr. Martin, and I said, in your spare time, because I'm a lot busier than you, could you please let me know what years there were levies in Preston County? My entire school career from this is going to age me, from 1964-5 to when I graduated in 1976 had a levy. So everything that was being provided, trips, buses, materials, field trips, extra science equipment, everything was being helped by that levy during my high school years. I hear a lot now that senior citizens will say, I don't have any kids in school. Why should I pay for this levy? Because somebody paid it for you. And that's the way I feel about it. Somebody paid it for me. So it's my turn. I don't have a child or a grandchild in school, but I was that little kid over there at Rollsburg. My dad worked afternoon on the railroad, and my mom didn't drive. And I would have had no way to get to anything. As a teacher in the levy, I'm the one that gets to see kids see Pittsburgh for the first time. And the look on their faces when they get out of Preston County and see a city or a zoo or anything that they haven't been able to see here. That's why I want the levy to pass.
Okay, thank you, Deborah. And our final candidate tonight is Michael Hovatter, also from District 3.
Good evening. I'm Michael Hovatter. Excuse me. Run for the Board of Education because the main reason is I'm a parent. And the kids, they really mean a lot. I've always been invested in the kids and the youth of our whole community. You know, I want to be the one that the parents that are in my age range reach out to because I'm on their level. You know, I see what the kids are going through. Just recently, my son played grasshopper basketball at West. Even though he doesn't go to West, doesn't go to Preston County Schools at all, but I met and stayed in touch with a lot of the parents, and I know a lot of the issues that are arising in the school as of right now. And, you know, I'm not an educator. I don't have any degrees. I'm a business person, but most of all, like I said, I'm a parent. On the business side of things, I recently started a new business, one of 5. We are officially opening tomorrow, but I took in a rash of applications. And one that stuck out to me the most was a freshman in Preston County, at Preston High. Wanted part-time work. He said he's a freshman, but he couldn't spell freshman. And I thought, this is sad. Maybe he has a learning disability. I don't know, but there's a few other words that he spelled incorrectly that kind of just blew my mind. But the fact that he's a freshman and couldn't spell freshman. You know, we need to take time. We need to reach out to these kids. We need to teach on their pace. I think a lot of things are moving faster than some of the kids can learn. And as Mr. McCrum said, the problem is in Charleston. Not just with the money, but with the education. You know, here locally, the board, even if you're on the board, doesn't mean you have a lot of say. I've learned that talking to different board members. Even though I had issues with them, was pretty mad there a few years ago. You know, it's hard to make any direct changes without going through Charleston. You know, we have to interpret, or they have to interpret the things that are put up the system from Charleston, but we have to push back when we think we need to push back. If it's something we don't agree with, we need to stand up for a moral value instead of just going along with the world. And, you know, that's the biggest problem in society is everybody wants to go with the world instead of with their own beliefs. I'm a man of God. I stand by the beliefs of God, you know, and I think if we live by those values, things, school system, the world, community, everything will be a better place. So that's all I have to say. I appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you, Michael. So that concludes the opening statements. I just want to reiterate that of these 5 candidates, only 2 will be elected, 1 representing each of the 2 different districts that are on the ballot. So now we'll transition into the public statements and the question and answer section of tonight's education forum. I just want to remind everyone that we are all friends and neighbors, and we all want what is in the best interest of Preston County. So the purpose of tonight is to ask questions, seek information, so that will help you to vote the best on the primary election day. Okay, so members of the public are limited to 90 seconds and with their statements and their questions. And the levy committee and the members of the Board of Education candidates are also limited to 90 seconds. However, there's a caveat. If a question is directed toward more than 1 member of the Board of Education candidates, then they'll be limited to 60 seconds to respond. So we'll take this in 3 sections based upon the amount of time we have for tonight's education forum. First, we'll start with the folks who have signed up tonight to speak. Then we'll move to question and answers from the folks in the room. And finally, if time allows, we'll ask questions or allow the comments through the For Preston County Schools Facebook page. Okay, so first, I will recognize Doug Coombs. Is Doug here to speak? Okay, so Mr. Coombs, you will have 90 seconds. You can follow the monitor here, and we'll address your question accordingly. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Who would like to take this from the levy committee? You will have 90 seconds.
Okay, related to the question, obviously, it is our intent, we are running an excess levy at this time to, as Mr. Tatham alluded to earlier, it is really to take care of things above and beyond the state aid formula. In terms of contingencies, we obviously will have to continue to provide educational services, whether the levy passes or does not. Certainly one thing that we've tried to do this year is through the RIF, or what's called reduction in force or RIF and transfer process, we have had to impact a number of employees, which is extremely unfortunate. We don't want to have to do that, but really our number one cost relates to personnel costs. So that is one thing we have to look at, is trying to get within the prescribed budget as it relates to our state aid formula, which is related to the number of students that's on our enrollment in October. So we have gone through the personnel process, and my assistant superintendent, Mrs. Varner, has worked to basically make reductions in employment related to loss of funding of the potential levy if the levy would not pass. We've also had to make cuts related to the loss of students. We lost approximately 140 students from last October. And then we also had to impact positions that related to any funding that came as a result of federal ESSER funds. So really, from a contingency standpoint, that's the first and foremost that we have to look at, is are we within the prescribed budget as it relates to the dollars that we know are going to come in, regardless of whether or not the levy would pass. Oh, good.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Martin. Okay. Next on the list is Michael Hovatter. Michael, did you intend to speak again? No? Okay. Okay. All right. Very good. Next. I thought maybe you were going for the second round. Okay. Next we have Dale McCrae. Dale? Hi.
Good evening, everybody, and thanks for coming out. I don't want there to be any mistake. My name's Dale McCrae. I've lived in Preston County my whole life, which is almost 70 years. I've seen the best and I've seen the worst of Preston County schools. I've seen it when we all had high schools, when everybody thought they were happy. The educational system we have now is probably the best I've ever seen. It's preparing us for a future that our kids deserve. We're not a rich county. We're a moderate county in West Virginia. We can all complain about the state not providing the resources that they should. That's obvious to everybody. It's been that way for as long as I've been alive. It's not going to change. If we want our kids to have a chance and a better education, we have to help provide that. And the school levy is just a small drop in the bucket compared to what our kids can gain from this. My question is, I think people kind of misunderstand the full-time teachers in the classroom that the levy will provide. Could you explain a little more of how that works and the advantages it gives our kids?
Thank you, Mr. McCrae. The way it works is there's about $950,000. It funds about 10 teachers these are positions that may move around the county as they're needed. So if we need a position at Brewston because they have a bigger class, third grade class, then we can have a position there, or the next year it may move to a different part of the county. So that just allows us to have a little bit of flexibility beyond the state aid formula. I'd like to use the remainder of the minute to address Mr. Kuhn's question. The contingency plan, as Mr. Martin said, is that cuts will be made. And not only will there be cuts in staff, those cuts have already been enacted. If the levy is passed, we're able to bring those people back on. We're able to bring custodians back in to clean the schools. We're able to add those positions back in. However, if we have leaks in roofs, we may have to defer them. If we have equipment that fails, we may have to defer it. If we can change out filters and do preventative maintenance, it may have to be deferred. That's the reality of it. You can look at the ballot call and see where the majority of the money goes into. It goes into maintenance. Most of that maintenance is preventative maintenance. Preston County has a history of that. It leads to state take over your school system and schools falling apart and then being closed.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. McCray, for your question. Okay, next on our list tonight is Beth Noss. Beth, did you want to speak again? No? Okay. It's fine. We'll move through it. It's okay. All right. Next, we have Liam Savage.
Thank you, ma'am. First off, before I ask a question directly to one of the candidates, I would like to speak in favor of the passage of this levy. I've had the distinction of being a Preston High School student for the past 4 years, and I've seen the improvements that the levy passage has brought to our school, and it would be just a failure. Can't even bring up the words. It would just be a failure, and it would be a very stupid decision to vote, not only to vote against the levy, but to fail it. It would be catastrophic, not only for Preston High School, but for the education system in our county. Like one of the previous speakers said before, the legislature is not going to give us any money anytime soon. Sorry to break it to you. It's just a fact. Not going to happen. I would like, though, sir, Michael Hovetter, I would like to ask you a question directly. I remember you have previously stated before at the candidate forum at Preston High School that your children do attend private school and not public school. And I was wondering why voters should trust you to serve on a public school board of education when you have kids that serve or that attend private school.
Appreciate that question. The fact that my kids do not go to this school is a direct result of my being very upset with the Board of Education. They go to Trinity Christian School. The wealth of knowledge they're getting from just their Bible is unbelievable, and the education itself. I would love nothing more to bring them back to Preston County Schools. They ask me almost every day. That is the whole reason I'm here. I want to make the system better for all kids. I want to be proud to bring my kids back to this school system. I'm fortunate that I can afford to send them to private school and they can get the education they are, but I would nothing more. I'd had my oldest son graduate from Preston High in 2020. I graduated myself in 1996. I would love for my kids to graduate from this school system. The reason I took them out of the school system originally was because I didn't feel like they were being protected the way they should have. And me just being as a taxpayer gives me the right to run a board of education. But the whole reason I'm here is I think the whole thing as a whole needs to be rejuvenated and made better for all the kids. I hope that answered your question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hovetter. Okay, our next speaker is Deborah Felton, and I'm guessing that, yes.
Am I allowed to talk over the levy?
You can come to this microphone right here as a member of the general public, and you can and a taxpayer, and you can have 1 minute and 30 seconds to either make a statement or ask a question.
Is anybody surprised about that? A couple more things about the levy is, I'm out there and I hear people say, well, this happened in 1980, or this happened in 1990, or this happened to my kids, or I don't like this teacher. All that's beside the point. Those people are not going to be hurt if you don't vote for the levy. Who's going to be hurt are the kids. The kids are the ones that this levy is for. I know as a teacher, I know as having a son in Preston County Schools, I look at Vanessa and I know trips that I was on with her and things that she did throughout school. And that's who this is for, is to make schools better, give kids better opportunities. And I, for one, I look at a lot of people in Preston County, a lot of my former classmates that are very successful, that benefited from levy and levy-funded activities, trips, materials, and even teachers. I guess that's why I'm so for the levy, is you can spend your 44 cents a day a lot worse places.
All right, thank you. So I will start reiterating the questions that are asked from the audience to make sure that our online audience can hear the questions as well. Okay, so our next speaker is Deborah Felton. Sorry, that's my, I don't want to give you the third time. Okay, Angie Williams.
Okay. It's a little scary. Hi, I'm Angie Williams. I had been a student from 6th grade on in Preston County Schools. I'm a parent of a graduated student who's now in Syracuse going to graduate school through Preston County Schools. She was able to graduate her undergrad in 3 years, and now she is getting a ride at a graduate school. And a lot of that is credit to Preston County Schools. My son is a senior who's graduating this year, and I'm very happy with what Preston County Schools has done as both a student, a parent, and a teacher. I've been teaching here forever, and it's a great place to be. So I really want to make sure that everybody understands that everybody who's been fighting hard to try to get the news out about this levy, they all are so sincere, and I really want you to listen to them and give it a fair shot, because our kids need this. All right, our kids deserve it, and that's what it's about. We're a small country county, and we should be a family, and that's what it's about. And I'd like somebody on the levy committee to please maybe share some of the current levy projects that are going on, so that people know how funds have been spent. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the question is for a member of the levy committee to address some of the current projects funded by the current levy.
We actually have a number of projects ongoing at this time as a result of levy work. If you look at West Preston School, we currently have paving and concrete work that's going on behind the school. They've also recently enclosed a number of pod classrooms in the lower elementary section, and also constructed a concession stand. It was something that was missing from the original construction at the school. Concrete and finish work actually was ensuing today at the CTE retail building. There's been a combination of funds that have been used for that facility. Some has been come by way of CTE and grant funds, but the concrete work today is actually as a result of levy funds. The Preston High School Theater is also actively under renovation. They have recently, last week, they actually completed an upgrade of the lighting system. They removed the previous seating. They are installing new seating. The floors have been painted, and just a number of improvements. And the carpeting is also going to be replaced in that facility. This summer, we have a number of projects, fencing projects at Fellows,ville, Central Preston, and Preston High School. Parking lot sealing and striping are going to be taking place at Terrata, Aurora, Preston, and Brewston. Gym floor reseals and rescreens at multiple schools. The indoor bleacher replacement at Preston High School. So there's just been a litany of funds. One exciting prospect is the fact that we do so have a project that will be upcoming next year that's related to a partial matching funds, a secure entryway at Kingwood Elementary, in which partial levy funds have been used to garner nearly $600,000 from the school building authority. So we're very excited about that.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Okay, our next question is from Terry Kisner.
Good evening. My question is for all of the candidates. I would like for each of you to rate the current state of Preston County Schools on a grading curve of A through F and give your reason why. Thank you.
Okay, that's a good question. Thank you. All right, so since this is a question that's been addressed to all of our candidates, we will limit the time to 1 minute each, and as we reset the clock, I will start with the same order that you originally spoke. So, Beth Noss, you have the floor for 1 minute. The question is, if you have to rate the current state of Preston County Schools on an A to F rating scale, what grade will you give it?
I would give the Preston County Schools in general a B. Why? Because I think they have a lot of great things that we've done with our levy. I think that there's more that can be done and that there are always room for improvement. Are there probably schools or areas that would make me get a lesser grade? That's possible, but on an average, I would give it a B.
Okay, next we'll have Robert Mac McCrum answering the same question.
Like Beth, I'm going to say a B. We've got a lot to do. There are holes. The Swiss cheese is still there. But why? People. We have wonderful teachers. We've got bus drivers who go out of their way. We have cooks that see kids every day, and those who need extra food get it. We've got custodians who could do what they could get done, but there's not enough of them. We've got the same problem countywide. There's not enough of us. Yes, us. I'm a sub after 80 years old. But are we going to do anything better? Yes. The levy helps, but people's support helps more.
Okay, next we'll have Shelley Miller.
I would also give us a B. We are definitely not perfect and we're not an A, but because I have been in the school system, just stepped out of it less than 2 years ago, I worked with our teachers. We have a wonderful group of teachers in our schools. Are they all perfect? Absolutely not. Give me a company or an organization anywhere that has that, and I think you would agree. We have great students. I have a daughter who has gone all through school. She has had an amazing experience. All of her teachers have been wonderful. So I just feel from a parent's perspective, not just from a board member candidate, that I would give it a B because of that. But being that I have been in the school system working with teachers who are passionate, service personnel who care and go out of their way, we can't always just look at test scores. We have to actually look at other parts, like Max said, with the person.
Okay, next we have Deborah Felton.
This is an interesting question for me because I got in an argument with some of my friends, believe it or not, that they wanted to give Preston County Schools an F. And I said, they're not an F. And so I went home and I love Google. So I started Googling and researching this stuff. And I'll be totally honest on whoever did this, whoever these people are, Preston County was like a C+. And there were counties around us that were A's and B's. You got to remember, C's average, and we do have a ways to go. But as far as personnel and the love that teachers have and what they give in overtime, their own money, their hearts and souls, is an A. The levy is something that could help us, I think, on scales be pushed to a B, which is why I'm so pro-levy and I want to see the schools do better.
Okay, Mr. Hovatter.
I'm glad Ms. Felton said a C+. I was thinking a B- or a C+, just with the Google I looked up said Preston County rated 48th in the state in education. West Virginia as a whole is in the bottom third in the United States, and we rank 48th. You know, and it's not because of the staff. You know, they do care about their job. A lot of it has to do with community. You know, let's get real, we're one of the poorest counties in the state of West Virginia. So it's hard to have the support from the communities that a lot of these other surrounding schools with A's and B pluses have. It's just a reality. We do the best we can with what we have to work with, but we definitely need the levy money to have that extra little push and little advantage. You know, we have surrounding counties that they have 5, 6, 7 levies that get passed, no question. And every time these people try to get one passed, it's a fight. You never know. It ought to just go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you to all the Board of Education candidates. Our next question is from Dana Kelly. Can you just give us 1 minute to reset? Ready when you are.
Hi, this question's for the Levy Committee. Can you provide some examples of how...
Can you come closer to the microphone, please?
Can you provide some examples for how levy funds have improved school safety?
Okay, so question about how have the current levy funds improved school safety?
Okay, I'm Vanessa Hayes, and I am passionate about school safety. About 6 years ago, before we had a levy, my husband and I had to raffle off a hog because we needed to provide our school with security cameras because we didn't have the money to do that after it had been broken into. That was what we had to do to react to a violation of our school not having those funds. Today, 6 years later, I'm still a fundraising guru, but for things that are beyond that, because we have a resource officer at Preston High School that is consistently interacting and creating relationships with the students up there. We have cameras in all of our schools that allow us to be able to go into every situation, even whenever there's been theft situations. They are so clear that we're able to really look at those better. We have construction sites so that we have different entryways so that people are not allowed to get into the schools without going through the office or through like a holding area. So we also have, what are the locks called? Night locks in all of our classrooms that even our students know how to use. They actually just go at the bottom of the door very easily, and that door cannot be opened or closed in any way. Years ago, we were actually trying to find the hoses, to try to find a way that we could keep our doors locked that way. Didn't work. The doors were opening. So we have come a long way.
All right, thank you. Okay, our next question or statement is from Angie Zofchek.
I know that Mr. Tatham has spoken about this already, but there have been people that have come in a little late. So could you talk about, will this levy result in additional or higher taxes than we are going to see right now? Thank you.
So the question is whether this levy will result in higher taxes, and the answer is no. The rates are lower across all 4 property classifications: for private property, residential land, houses, personal property, or cars, etc., and also business properties. Across the board, 8.7% lower rate. If your assessed value stays the same, your taxes will decrease. On our website, prestonschoolslevy.com, there's an Excel calculator that you can calculate what your reduced rate will be, what your reduced tax burden will be based on your assessed value. So it will lower your taxes with that. But the beauty of it is, because our tax base has increased over the past 5 years, more people have moved into Preston County, bought more homes, and we've actually had more businesses moving into Preston County. So in essence, we have more taxpayers. That's called the tax base has risen. More money will come into to Preston County Schools because of this levy at a lower rate per individual person. That is the beauty that our counties to the west have. Mon County, They have more people there because people want to live there because they have A-plus schools. Therefore, they're able to raise more money through their tax bases, which benefits everyone. So we have to take care of ourselves, and this is at a lower rate.
All right, thank you, Mr. Tatham. Okay, the last questions or statement that we have on the sign-in sheet is from Brenda Layton.
Hi, I am Brenda Layton. I am also a 1996 grad from Preston High School, and I've had 3 students that have gone through the system over the last several years, and all of my kids were super involved. Sports, music, the arts, band, football, lacrosse, and they did a lot of activities. They also did a lot of community activities, and my question to the Levy Committee is, could you give me some specific examples of how this would impact the community groups that use our facilities?
Facility use is a really important aspect of this levy. We have community organizations that are able to utilize our buildings free of charge. What we have seen predominantly is we have a lot of youth sports organizations who've been able to use our facilities. Many of you, I'm sure, are involved in youth sports or have volunteered yourself. They are not organizations that are about trying to make a lot of money. They're simply trying to provide a viable service for students. We have extensive use of our buildings throughout the county as a result of the levy. We have organizations in Aurora, Brewston, in terms of, and you look at youth sports organizations, Lions Club. We have grasshopper basketball organizations throughout the county. The Kingwood Volunteer Fire Department, of course, utilizes Kingwood Elementary during the Buckwheat Festival. The Reedsville VFD uses our facilities for a beauty pageant associated with their organization. The Cornerstone Community Church is able to utilize the facility for sunrise services. So we have a wide variety of groups that use our facilities, and it's important that the levy will continue to support these and other groups to be able to continue to use facilities unfettered and without any potential fees. Obviously, in the absence of levy, that's where you have to start looking at facility use fees, which is really not what we would like to do. We want those groups in our schools and using them on a day-to-day basis. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Martin. So we have come to the portion of the evening where we will entertain questions from the audience. We appreciate you being here, and since we've exhausted the speakers list, if anyone has a question, I would ask that you only speak if you're recognized, and that you state your name and then your statement or question. So is there anyone in the audience that would like to ask a question? Okay.
This is actually a question from my husband because he could not attend. My name is Neela Serbone. My husband is David Serbone. He teaches at WVU. As someone else said before me, we're not from Preston County, but we got here as quick as we could. We live in Albright. We got married on the front lawn. I had all 3 babies in the bedroom upstairs in that house. I now am a school nurse at the Preston School. Some of you may know my children. I have a Rhodes Scholar who graduated from Preston High. I have a Columbia student, if you would pray for him right now with the protests, that would be great, who graduated from Preston High, and the cute girl who let you in earlier is my daughter, who's also going to be going to Harvard, and she graduated from Preston High. So A plus, B plus, C, D, I think, as we all know, a lot of it is what comes from home and other opportunities given by the levy or by the community is what makes a school good. My question, though, from my husband is, I'm a school nurse and I was RIF'd. We don't have money to pay me to be the nurse at Preston next year. And the question is, why isn't there enough money in the budget to have a nurse at every school? Dave wants to know. And a lot of other parents want to know too.
This is somewhat of a product of state funding, as we've talked about earlier, and the fact that one nurse can cover up to 1,500 students. That's within the state aid formula. We did have a point in time that we did have nurses during COVID, during the COVID pandemic. There were federal ESSER monies that did supply funding for having nursing staff at any and all schools. Unfortunately, at this time, those funds have yet been exhausted. I would say, one point that I would certainly try to make is that obviously passage of a school levy provides, more potential, and I won't say discretionary funding because the funding has to be spent from a certain line item within the levy, but it certainly brings additional funding to the district, which would possibly allow for, funding outside of the levy or funding from the county source that could potentially look at funding positions, additional positions such as school nurses. There is a line item within the levy in terms of the health and safety and security line item that does allow for the possibility of increasing nursing salaries to better attract or maintain nurses within the county. So I think that's an important point to make as well, is specifically we would certainly try to address that through the levy and the fact that we do have funding that we hope can help to maintain and potentially attract additional nursing staff for our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Thank you for the question. Okay, are there other questions from in the room? You may, if you just come up to the microphone and introduce yourself, and then you have 90 seconds. Okay, Robin, we'll recognize you first, okay? But the answer is yes.
Hi, I'm Robin White, and I started my teaching career at high school as the home economics teacher there for 10 years, and then I did a stint at the Department of Education, and then I moved to Iowa for 20 years, and they pay a lot more taxes, and their schools are pretty good. So when Dennis and I retired, we came back to Preston County, and we're happy to be here, and we want to do whatever we can to support the schools. So that's why we serve on the Levy Committee. He is watching online, and he hasn't figured out how to ask this question online, so I got a text. The question is, first, I want to remind everybody that there are colorful sheets over here on the table that tells you what the levy has done for each school. So please be sure to pick up one of those before you leave. But his question is, someone mentioned that test scores are often used to rank counties. So the question is, what progress has been made in raising test scores for our students?
Obviously, we have a number of tests that help to assess students. The two primary tests that we use to assess students is the general summative assessment, or called the GSA. At the high school level, 11th grade students annually take the SAT, which is a college entrance exam. In terms of the general summative assessment, last year, Preston County Schools moved up 2 slots in both English language arts and in math from 32nd to 30th overall out of 55 counties. Obviously not where we want to be, but we have shown a moderate level of progress. We obviously continue to try to improve instruction. We employ a number of instructional coaches, which are designed to work with our teachers to improve classroom instruction, to utilize methodology within the classroom that's designed to elicit stronger test scores. And I'm going to turn it over to a curricular specialist, Mrs. Hayes, real quick. Okay, well, I've already stepped, but certainly Mrs. Hayes was a former classroom teacher here in Preston County Schools, so was actually ascended to the State Department that works regionally with teachers around the state. But obviously it's an ongoing process. We want to see continued improvement of our schools. Again, we are seeing moderate levels of improvement, but it's obviously designed to see continued larger jumps in our performance, obviously comparative to West Virginia counties around the state. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Martin, and thank you, Robin, for the question. Okay, I'll recognize Terry. Come on up. 1:30.
I have another question for the candidates. My question is, what are the 2 to 3 top priorities, concerns, issues, programs, things that you, if elected, would address?
All right, thank you for that question. So we'll take just a moment, reset the time clock, since it will be, you'll have 60 seconds. At this point, we probably know our order, right? So, okay, good. We're learning as we go. So Beth, if you want to come on up.
So I'm going to say I'm a little bit at a disadvantage because I'm sure I do not know every issue that is out there. But the priority that I would put is for our students, then our staff, and then our service personnel. There's got to be issues that every school sees differently, so you would have to choose between your schools on where you're working on something. I can't speak specifically about any certain issues. I know there are a lot that I've talked to people about in the community as I've been running for the Board of Education, and I think it's just important that we look at those issues, look at different ways that maybe not only we've handled them here, but other places within our state, check what they've done, see what's working, and then try to apply that here.
The old man has to stand up. Hope he doesn't fall over. Yeah, old man. It comes down to, I'm in every classroom. I've ridden almost every bus that operates in Preston County. Every new teacher sees me the first year they work. I hand them a card with my name, my phone number, my email. I do the same thing with cooks. I talk to them. That's what I want to do. It's what I have done for 13 years already. I want to keep doing that. I think we need that. That will help everybody, not just the people who work for us, but the kids. I was one of the people that requested strongly back a couple of years ago that young man right there, his brother, and that young lady, well, she's not here now. Where'd she go? Okay.
I think one of the issues that I hear most that are complaints are, what are we going to do about our substitute shortage, and what are we going to do about our bus drivers? I'm open for suggestions because I don't have an answer for that. And I know those are two very important things that need to be addressed. I think we need to listen to community members to see if they have answers for those issues. I know a top priority for myself is safety. I want to make sure all of our schools are safe and secure for our students. So, as a top priority for myself, that is, first and foremost. And really, a lot of these issues are going to come down to whether this levy is passed or not. And when we're talking about the substitute shortage, we really can't attract new teachers or retain teachers when we don't have a levy for that. So, these are things that, because I'm not in the board currently, I don't know what they have available to them.
My fellow candidates had to remind me what position I was in because I'm like a lot of kids who don't pay attention. Anyway, Preston County issues in their schools are no different than the rest of West Virginia or the rest of the country. And the teacher shortage, teacher, bus driver, subs, it's everywhere. And if you look at concerns teachers have, it's all tied together. It's lack of discipline in schools, micromanagement of teachers, lack of respect for the teaching profession. There's just a general lack of respect in our society. So it's not just like these people's problem or our problem. It's everybody's problem. And it probably starts at home.
My top three would be safety, academics, and finances. Safety is what put me here with my children. I had a parent reach out to me the other day where her child was threatened to have his throat slit. I hear stories where there's videos. My daughter showed me videos of her friend that took where there's kids getting straight beat downs that ought to be considered assault, but it's not. The academic side of it is there's a reason there's so many students either doing virtual, homeschooling, changing schools, what have you. And then, of course, finances. Finances is a big part of all of it. That's my three.
Okay, thank you to the candidates for the answer and for the question. Okay, come on up. Give us your name, and we will give you 1:30 seconds.
Okay.
Thank you.
My name is Samantha Stone. I am a current elected official here in Preston County as a county commissioner. I'm a mother of 3, 1 graduating high school this year, 2 that are freshmen at Preston High. And I'm also service personnel for Preston County Schools. I do drive a school bus. So, my question is, and this was a concern, it has been a concern of mine for many years. We do have an awesome CTE program at Preston High, but I believe there's gaps and it could be much better. With the employment, we need trade, we need other things in this county. We are struggling to hire qualified individuals in the county. Not everyone is going on to Harvard and other places. And although I place a super high priority on that sort of excellence being produced at Preston High School and our schools, I also believe that we should be investing in our career and technical education more so than what we are currently doing. So this question would be for the current board and even our folks that are running to fill the board seats. What kind of importance are you going to put on that? Because we need to be turning out quality people right out of high school that can go into the workforce. And if we could partner with the people in this county that are very successful entrepreneurs, we would have a gold mine. So we really need to focus on that.
Right, very good. Thank you for the question. So we will take this in 2 parts. We'll have a minute and 30 response from the Levy Committee, and then any of the Board of Ed candidates that would like to respond can have 1 minute for the response. So we'll start with the Levy Committee first, responding to what is the priority placed on CTE education. Thank you.
I'm going to field this question in the fact that we have multiple board members here in attendance tonight, but I would agree with Mrs. Stone. The CT program is extremely important part of Preston High School. Vocational and technical education is paramount. You know, the current job reality is that really our students that are coming out of CT programs are helping to fill a vital need that's out there from an employment standpoint. You know, one thing that we're trying to do is obviously develop relationships in conjunction with the Economic Development Association and the Chamber of Commerce. It's ironic, we have an event scheduled this week on May 2nd, actually, at Preston High School. We're having a career fair in which we have approximately 25 employers that are going to be on site at Preston High School, and we're certainly trying to align them with current CT students to look at potential employment opportunities that may exist outside, upon graduation. We're obviously continuing to assess programs and looking to, potentially, we have to be reactive to what's out there. Obviously, if there are programs that we feel the job market is really pushing for, we have to be flexible in looking at changing those programs as needed. But I think we have a strong base of programs in automotive, agriculture, electricity, nursing, just to name a few, that are certainly that we are trying to put out in the job force because there is such a growing need for that. While college is important, CT and technical education is also equally important to a student's well-rounded education.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Martin. So next we'll reset the clock and we will allow the Board of Ed candidates 1 minute to respond. Is there anyone who would like to tackle this question? Okay, we'll take Beth Moss first.
So the CTE program, to me, is very important. It's just as important as any other class that they have at Preston High School. 3 of my kids took different classes there. My boys both were in the electrician department, the electrician program, and have went on to use that in their careers that they're doing now or at the university my youngest son is at. So to me, it is very important. It is important that we help people become electricians, nurses, and not have to go into a long schooling before they come back to do what they love to do. So I would put a lot of emphasis on that and make sure that we know what needs to be done, and if there needs to be helping them find that next step after they are finished with their CTE program, then I believe that we would do that as well.
Thank you, folks. Okay, I've been a member of the CTE Council for most of the time as a board member. I go to the meetings. People who, I've had students who I had to talk to not drop out of school because I was able to get them in the CTA program. Because I was a principal and a board member after. That's what we need. We need that. I'm also a Chamber of Commerce member, and I keep in comment, the legislators know what I feel. How do they know? Because I tell them. Do you?
I absolutely believe that the CTE program needs to have an emphasis. Just seeing students, I taught first grade, kids struggling and academically, and they get to the high school and they get into a CTE program where it's a hands-on program and they thrive. So I absolutely feel that it needs more of an emphasis. I agree, and I'd love to talk to you about, if I get on the board, what we can do to help that happen.
I'd like to clarify that I'm not as old as Mac, but I am old enough that I remember when the vocational school, I don't want to say started, but maybe, is, and thanks, supporters, and kids were bused from the outlying schools for half a day. And I had a brother, and I'll admit it, he was probably more intelligent than I am, but he just wasn't the typical school person. And I have to say, for my parents, representing them here, God bless vocational school, because I don't know who said it before me, but there's a lot of kids that might not graduate if it weren't for what they call CTE now. See, I still say vocational because I grew up that whole time it was vocational school. But yes, it's needed. Not everybody has the push from home, the money. You know where I'm going with that.
Okay, so we all know the CTE programs are very, very important. I, for one, as being a business owner, and like I said earlier, recently took on quite a few applications, some of which were high school students looking for part-time work. Right now, I employ 35 people. Soon I'll be employing or trying to employ close to 100. And right now, I currently could use 10 more employees, and I don't have anybody looking for jobs. And some of the few that did, they're not qualified to do what we need. They've always been important. I'm VOTEC too. I say VOTEC all the time. My sisters went there. I went there. When I spoke at the forum at Preston High, I spoke about some internships or apprenticeships or whatever you want to call it to get these kids involved with business owners like myself. I've talked to quite a few that would be willing, open arms to take these kids in, and it builds the community.
Okay, Mrs. Stone, if you'd like to come back up and ask a follow-up. Thank you for that focus on CTE, and we'll keep going, I'm guessing.
This is just a brief statement, something that I would like to engage with all of you at another time concerning, and even the current Board of Ed and Superintendent. But there is ample opportunity, again, in this county with the business owners here. And I know what we have is good. I really don't want to focus on what we have. I think they need more equipment, better equipment, safer equipment. I think they could use some things that levy dollars could go to help bring some better stuff to them. However, what my thought is we need operators, we need laborers that understand the rules and regulations, we need masons, we need other things. And so are you interested, my question truly is, are you interested in expanding to fill the need of these jobs? These are jobs where they make a lot of money doing at a very young age. And employers are needing that. And so that's just a statement. I'm not asking for you to react to that question, but those are the things I want you to be thinking about, not just doing what we've been doing. We need to do more to get better.
Okay, thank you for that. So it was a question about sort of furthering the breadth of the CTE education that we currently have. Okay, Mr. Coombs, if you'd like to come back up.
Yeah, I have one more question and then one more quick statement. My question will be directed at Mr. Martin. Your verbiage for the levy, in every section, general maintenance, improvement, equipment, operating, it says included but not limited to. Okay? Well, to me, by saying included, not limited to, is there's no one holding you accountable, and there's no transparency by that. Because if it says included but not included but not limited to, you can take the money and do whatever you want. Well, now wait a minute, let me finish, okay? Because we know there's been a lot of money wasted with this last levy. There's been a lot of money wasted with this last levy. We pay $100,000 a year to get the lawn cut when we have maintenance guys. They should be cutting our lawns at our schools, okay? My second statement is for you new board members. You Google some things. Does anybody here know where Preston High ranks in this state out of schools? 90th out of 111. We're in the bottom 19%. I want to agree with her, with Ms. Stone. The CTE is the answer for that. Because if we can get the kids through that, that's going to make our students come up higher. But 19%, the bottom 19% is unacceptable in any school district. You know, we're a big enough county that we should be at least in the 50% out, maybe even higher. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Coombs. So we'll take this in two ways. We will let the Levy Committee and specifically Mr. Martin respond for 1 minute and 30 seconds. And if there are board members who would like to address that question, you'll have 1 minute.
Okay, in relation to the verbiage within the levy call, what that's inclusive is that it can include any or all of these particular matters. The dollars that fall under, for example, the $1.9 million or $1,900,000 that fall within maintenance, those are just examples that it can fall within that particular category. Will the levy necessarily do all of those things? Not necessarily, but if it falls within that category, these are the things that can be spent on. If it's not spent within that category, we are required to roll that funding over within the same category into the next fiscal year. So for example, we can't use, for example, we'll say technology money to pay for maintenance-related matters. You can't shift it around. It must be maintained within the category in which it's specified within the levy call. I don't know if that answers your question, Doug, but that's, I mean, in essence, that where it is the verbiage. Okay, Mr. Tatum.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. So the category says general maintenance, improvements, and equipment. And it gives an example. It says including but not limited to. There's an example. It says bathroom partitions. So we could use levy money to replace the bathroom partitions. What if we want to replace the urinals or the toilets right next to it? Can we do that also? Yes. Do we need to specify every single item that's going to be covered in maintenance? That would be impossible. So this gives us categories, and those are examples of what falls in the category, but not limited to only these examples.
In the back of the book, which is well, quarterly supply.
Mr. Martin, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to ask you to, thank you. I appreciate that. All right. My job is rule and order, and tonight we will maintain rule and order. Okay, thank you. All right, so is there another question? Come on up.
I'm Emily Bomar. I am a parent and a teacher at West Preston. My question is for the levy. Can playgrounds be built into the levy maintenance budget, staggered based on life expectancies of the equipment?
Okay, so that was a question about playground equipment. Is there a member of the levy committee that would like to address this question? Mr. Martin, you might have some time to finish your statement.
Yeah, just for clarity on that last item, is that our levy expenditures are updated quarterly in our Beat of Excellence magazines. You got your most recent copy there, but that's actually supplied 4 times a year, which includes levy expenditures in the aspect of transparency. In regards to playground equipment, while playground equipment is not per se included, for example, there's work associated with, for example, playground construction that may fall under the maintenance category, for example, when you're looking at drainage and things of that nature. So I would say we would have to look very closely at the levy call to see what could be potentially inclusive. I know that playground equipment is not necessarily mentioned directly, but when you're doing construction or working on making improvements to a playground, there could be elements, for example, that could be inclusive within our levy call that could help to contribute. Again, that's probably the type of thing, Mrs. Bomar, where you're going to have to see a combination of funds. Levy funds could potentially be fund portions of that, but you would also most typically speaking, a lot of playground improvements does take place with local school fundraising initiatives, but I think the levy could help to supplement those efforts at many of our schools.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Martin. Are there other questions from the room tonight? Okay, come on up.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Colson Manco. I currently serve as a student board member, and my question is for our Board of Education candidates. So recently in the past, I have the papers at my house. I'm invested in it. Preston County schools have seen a increase in students leaving our county. And, I'm aware legislative has passed something to say that we can no longer block transfers out of the county. But what we can do as a county is make it more attractive to keep kids in the county. So my question for you guys is, what are your examples, broad, whatever, I want specific examples of how you plan to make Preston County schools more attractive to keep our students in our county?
All right, excellent question, Colson, thank you. Okay, so just to sort of shift things around a bit, we'll start with reverse order. So Mr. Hovatter, if you'd like to take that first.
How was that worded again? I'm sorry. Well, I don't know that there's exactly one answer for that. There's multiple different issues. Safety's one for me. The education level might be for another parent. There is no one answer. There's multiple answers in my opinion. Like I said, safety, the education level, quite a few people have talked about, and of course the financial aspect of it. Then you take the CTE programs, and you have what? I don't know, I'm gonna throw numbers out there. 5% maybe go to Ivy League schools. 20%, 25% go to higher education. 60% are going into the workforce. And I don't know where I'm at on my 100%. The rest of them might not work at all. Okay, we are in Preston County. Okay, I'm just saying we do live in a county where a lot of people don't work. I can't say that I have one focus on any part of it.
Okay, next door, have Ms. Stein.
I've always been on this campaign that there's a lot that is really good in Preston County schools. And I think it may have been Mr. Martin even. I had a discussion 2 or 3 years ago. I said, start blowing your own horn. Have teachers start promoting and showing what they do every day. And I know I was, people probably got tired of it, but I didn't care. As I substituted a K-1-2 in Rollsburg last year, and with the help of a wonderful aide and parent volunteers, we did a lot of really neat things. And with parents allowing, to take photographs of their students, I posted every day and sent photographs to parents and little videos during the day. This is what we're doing. And yes, there's room for improvement, but we need to promote the good things that we're doing.
Okay, Shelley Miller?
I think before we can say what we can do to keep our students here, because I totally agree that that's what we need to do, is we need to find out what are the reasons that they're leaving, because like Mr. Hovatter said, there are various reasons. Almost having an exit interview with those students as they're leaving and their parents, and really pinpointing what it is and why they're leaving, because from there we can figure out what it is that we can do to keep our students here. Sometimes it's academics, sometimes it's sports. It's different for other parents. So I feel like that's where we have to start, is to figure out what are the reasons and then go from there and figure out what it is that we can do and what is it within our capacity that we can do, because we all know that there are lots of things that we would like to do, but we're unable to do. Our hands are tied. So that's where my mind goes, is just figuring out what are the reasons.
Okay, yeah, I got up better that time. What do we do better? We have to ask. I've got a granddaughter that half a day away from school this year. She was going on a Hope Scholarship. Why? Because we couldn't provide her an English teacher at her school. She wants to be a writer. How many kids are in that same situation? Not many. But there are a lot of kids who want to be. I've got kids who I had in school who were welding at $100 an hour. Why? My son works computers. He got the training at the high school. Of course, he also built his computer from parts. Why? That's the question we have to ask. Why? Thank you.
So I, much like one of the others, believe that first we have to do research. We have to find out why they're leaving. If you don't know why you're leaving, then you can't fix it. If it's for sports, that's unfortunate, right? But if it's for education, then we need to find how to make it better, and we need to make people proud to be from Preston County and want to attend the school where they live.
All right, thank you for those answers. Are there any other questions from in the room? Okay, come on up.
This actually kind of plays
Okay,
into this, works
Mr.
out.
Hogue, if you...
So I'm going to start with just a very, very brief statement, which I promise you will lead into my question. I was actually chaperoning a 4th and 5th grade field trip to the Carnegie Science Center today, thanks in part to part of the levy to be able to do that. And really what I want to stick with that and look at that opportunity very quickly for success. We're finding successes. The goal of the levy is to keep those successes. We've made progress. As Mr. Martin alluded to it, when I started here in Preston County Schools, we ranked in the mid-40s. And even through a pandemic, we managed to make it up to the 30th spot. And for our future, that's really what I want to hit on, and then that's what I want to ask the candidates for. So tomorrow morning, due to a little incident on our field trip today, I will actually be visiting the doctor. I have an appointment with somebody who is a former Preston County student, because we invested in that young lady's future. So if you want to see it, you got to look around. You want to talk about keeping these students here, they want to stay here, but they also want to see that you want to make that investment. So I'm about to make things possibly a little bit uncomfortable for the 5 of you. Hopefully it's a little easy too. No politics, no resume, no prepared statement, no cheesy slogan whatsoever. Why are you the person that we should trust to invest in our kids' futures?
All right, excellent question. So with that, I'll adjust the order here a bit as well. We'll start with first candidate from District 2, Shelley Miller.
So I feel that I am an excellent representation of our county. I am a mother. I have been a teacher. I have students. I have grown up here. I have a vested interest in our community. I have lived here my entire life. So I feel that working with teachers, I understand what their needs are. I know what they want. I know being an academic coach and working closely with the board office, I know what they can and cannot do. So I just feel that I'm a good candidate because I'm well-rounded. I'm a parent. I have been a past educator. I'm passionate about education, and I care about our community.
Okay, next we'll have Beth Noss.
I think you should allow me the opportunity to do this because I am for the youth of this county. I am for success. I have never taught in a classroom, but I can guarantee you if you talk to any of my soccer players, they know what my team goals are for them, and it's not just on a field, it's in everyday life. It teaches you everything. You have to learn to listen to everyone. You have to be open to change, and you have to be willing to help make the hard decisions that force success.
Mr. McCrum.
Made it again. Okay. How do we make success? It happens in one way. Each of us get committed. I have been for 50 years. My dad and my mom, and now my son's running for a political office too. Our commitment is always, it has been, it remains, and mine, I hope you will keep me as a board member. Thank you.
Michael Hobetter.
Well, the biggest part is I'm a parent. I've been involved in the youth. I'm more, I think, accessible, perhaps. Everybody knows where I'm at all day long. If you can't call my cell phone, call the store. If you can't call it, call the tow number. Somebody will get a hold of me. Trust me. It happens all day long. Like I said, I have kids in playing in school, sports, different activities. I talk to the parents. I'm on the same level with the parents. We have the same understanding about a lot of things. You know, I want to be there for all the needs, and it's like we said earlier, it starts at home. I want the parents to reach out to me. I want to be accessible at all times so that I know what the issues are, so that we can get the foundation at home started and take it into the school system.
Okay, our final BOE candidate, Deborah Felton.
Basically, my whole life has been, and passion has been Preston County Schools and the students who go to Preston County Schools. In various roles, honestly, right now, I'd like to be teaching full-time, but I've just reached that age where 5- and 6-year-olds wear me out. And I want to be proud of something. I want to be proud of something every day that I've devoted my whole life to, and that's Preston County Schools. I've been being a sub, and of course I'd have to give that up to be on the school board. So this will be my job. I hate housework. So I would rather be out seeing what teachers need or kids need or what needs to be done than to do housework.
I fully second that notion. Okay. Do we have any other questions from in the room? Okay, come on up. We have 2 more remaining, and if we are quick, we might be able to get all of those in. Can you introduce yourself and then ask your question?
Hi, my name is Jacob Smith-Tatham, and I'm a student of Preston County Schools. I feel that teachers are such an important part of my education and to my peers in general. Teachers that care are the best thing for education in general. Looking around this room are many teachers, not specifically from my school, but around the school system. I know that many teachers use personal money and time to benefit students. Many teachers use personal money for incentives. Directed to the Levy Committee, how will the passing of the levy benefit teachers?
Well, first say, for full disclosure, that is my son, but I did not prep him with a question or tell him to ask a question, but I am proud that he asked that question. So to answer your question, how will teachers benefit from it is the levy provides money through the levy call for instructional supplies. So $225,000 is provided to teachers, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Martin, but that's given to all teachers on a per student basis. Is that correct? So per student basis by the school. So if it's a science class and they need lab equipment or supplies to do an experiment, then teachers get the money for that. If they want to use it for an English teacher wants to use it to get specific books that they have a budget. And then I can answer as a board member. I see that at our board meetings, all schools are required to provide a budget of how they're going to use the instructional supply money. And they have to put that budget into the board, I believe, by September 30th of that school year. And then we track it on a monthly basis, how much has been encumbered. Encumbered's when a purchase order is created, and how much has been paid out. And we keep it fair that way.
Thank you, Mr. Tatham. Time for one more question. Do we have that in the room? Okay. See, one more. Okay, come on up. So, missed it in the corner. I know.
Mine's more of like a statement with a small question.
Can you give us your name first?
Yes, I'm Bonnie Bolliard. I graduated PHS in 2023, and I'm a mother. My thing is, I was also part of CTE for 4 years. I did food service. And yes, it helped me prepare for my career, even though I'm studying psychology. It still helped me. How can we prepare our students for life instead of a career? I was in first grade, and we made it to letter C of cursive writing. Thank you to my mom, who taught me how to write my name in cursive. I didn't know how to write a check. Thank you, Mom. I didn't know how to address a letter. Thank you, Mom. And I didn't know how to fill out an envelope. Thank you, Mom. So how can we prepare our students for life instead of a career? Thank you.
All right, that is an excellent question, and obviously an acknowledgement to how important our moms are. Okay, so who would like to take that from Mr. Martin? A minute and 30 seconds.
Bonnie, I think the need that you're asking for is really important. The fact that we do need to make sure that our students have certain life skills. It's not just, academics are obviously very important, but there's certainly a lot involved as well. One effort that we are taking at our high school is in the incorporation of a new curriculum for the coming academic year in the 9th grade class, which will be a combination of career-based skills, but also life-based skills that's going to be incorporating members of our fine arts teachers, our CTE teachers, and our academic teachers. So we're very excited about that. And Mrs. Layton's in the crowd, and I can't remember the name of that curriculum, But that is, it's ironic because, I mean, literally today, Mrs. Layton and Mr. Seymour and I were talking about just that. So certainly we know that that's extremely important. We also are trying to incorporate those types of skills at our middle school, but we're going to make a conscious effort with a very much a defined curriculum at the 9th grade level coming in the next year at Preston High School. Career connections. Thank you, Mrs. Layton.
Okay, so as we transition into the final segment, we will allow the Board of Education candidates to have 2 minutes for closing statements, and then we'll allow the Levy Committee to have 3 minutes for one closing statement. So I'll start first with Mr. Hovatter. Let's just take 1 minute.
Showtime. Okay, in closing, I want to address the same question I was asked earlier by the young man about my kids not going to this school. Can I have a show of hands? How many of you guys have kids in the school system? Currently? One? How about the current Board of Education? How many of you guys have students in the school system? Just out of curiosity. Okay, but not all. So, that shouldn't really be a major stipulation. The fact that I care about the Board of Education, the education, the safety of students should be all that matters, not whether my kids go here or not, yet. Second of all, I like I said a couple different times, you know, I feel like I'm the parent's choice as a father. A lot of kids in the school system. I know a lot of different parents. We're all in the same age range. I have a lot of the same concerns, questions, as most of the parents do. And to answer another question we were just asked her a little bit ago, I've been thinking about it all night. Prepared for life. I had a young man apply for a position that might have been one of the best candidates for the position. He came with his hair disheveled, his shirt was stained, torn, his jeans were ragged, and he had one boot inside his cowboy boot and the other one outside of it. He had no idea how to show up for an interview. That is not what I want my customers to see. Therefore, he didn't get any type of credit towards. I didn't even look at his application, to be perfectly honest with you, just because that is not what I want to show for my business. So we need to focus on getting these kids ready for life, whether it's, you know, balance a checkbook. I've said that for years. Job interviews, basic house work, the whole 9 yards construction. Thank you very much.
Okay, Ms. Felton?
I think, well, one thing, I honestly taught cursive writing for years. And I taught how to address an envelope in 3rd grade when I taught 3rd grade. And I know a lot of other people, Amy, I know you taught these things. So, I think what happened, this is my opinion, is it's like we always go left or right when we need to just come together. And at some point, teachers were told that test scores is what everyone was going to be judged on. Teachers, students, the county, test scores. So if it didn't meet an objective on a standardized test, you weren't supposed to waste time on that. Now, at some point, there's things that can't be tested, like possibly how to dress for a job interview, how to balance a checkbook. Those are called living everyday skills. There's something called common sense. And at some point, we all got to get back to common sense. And that needs to be incorporated into life in the schools, that yes, test scores are important, they have a place. Preparing kids for real life sometimes can't be tested on a test. And you have to, whether it's curriculum or allowing teachers time in a day to assess the specific class that they have that year and what those kids need. Every year's different in teaching. I've had classes that almost every child in that class could go to college. And I've had classes that weren't like that.
First and foremost, I just want to thank everybody for allowing me this opportunity. I never thought in a million years I would be a candidate for anything, but I think everybody should run for office sometime because you will feel love like you have never felt before. And I mean that in sincerity. I have a student here tonight, and you just can't believe the outpouring of support that you feel, and I appreciate it, and that I covet your votes if you decide that I would make the best candidate. But I think Mr. Hovatter has said before that you have any choice that you make, you're going to find somebody who is passionate about this, and I hope that I am your candidate, and I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Mr. McDonald?
Yeah, me too. 50 years, commitment. Family commitment. 13 years on the board. I went through state takeover when they told us, no, you can't do that. Yeah, you have to do that. Teachers have to battle that all the time. Custodians and janitors and everybody, right now, you got 15 days of sick leave every year. But you can't carry them. I was able to because I'm an old guy. I was able to use them to add to my retirement. It was an incentive for me to keep going. Kids need another incentive. What do they have? What's in it for them? That's one of the things, Board of Education members. Yeah. When I go to a board meeting, I've gone to all but 3 since July of last year. I wrecked my car, slept through one, and was sick. Student. Not a student, but she worked with my daughter. No, I didn't, sorry. And there's 5 more people in this room that I could say, students of mine. I'm proud of those over 10,000 students and the probably 9,000 in Mon County I had. Because I was on a board, I had to work in Mon County. Are we willing to admit that what we have to do is commit ourselves, all of us, not just the levy committee, not just the superintendent, not just the board members. Everybody in the county has got to commit. Thank you.
Our final candidate, Mrs. Noss.
So running for the Board of Education was never in my future. It came from a question from parent, a question from a teacher asking me to step up and take the chance. So that's what I'm here to do. I believe it takes a community to raise children, not only in where they're at in school, but anywhere else in their life. I know a lot of people, from what I've heard tonight, they're not on for that levy. Without that levy, there's not going to be that community support that we need to have. So I hope that you will think very hard about that decision and that you look at the levy as a plus for our school. You want our schools to be better, then we have to have the levy. As far as me personally, I'm very passionate about anything I do. When I thought about this decision, I stood at the courthouse steps. I made a phone call. I asked what I had to be dedicated to do. I was not gonna step into this unless I could give my all. I'm here for the students of Preston County. I want them to be proud, I want them to be inspired, and I want them to give back to their community. It is super important to me. I've taught my children that. I teach my teams that. I hold 10 and 11-year-olds responsible for the decisions that they make on the field, that they're the ones that do it. I will hold the board responsible for the decisions we make. We have to know what we're doing. We have to know if it's the best, and if it's not, how do we make it better? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your willingness to serve on the Board of Education. 2 of these folks will be elected to the board, so thank you and for your participation tonight. So as our final statement, we will have a 3-minute speech or statement from the Levy Committee.
To conclude tonight, I would first like to thank the membership of the Preston County Schools Levy Committee for their hard work in organizing and carrying out tonight's education forum. I would also like to thank sponsor organizations MCOR, Wind, Water, Air, Mountaintop Heating, and Liberty Distributors for financial assistance for tonight's candidates forum. I would like to thank Dr. Chrissy Estep for serving as tonight's moderator, and to our board member candidates and Levy Committee members who have attended this evening. I would also like to thank everyone in attendance tonight. I'm here tonight not as a candidate, but as a parent and a citizen and a member of the Preston County Schools Levy Committee who has worked tirelessly over the last 9 months in the development and promotion of a school levy that has been discussed at length tonight. This proposed levy will replace the current levy passed in February of 2019 that expires on June 30th this year, but at a lesser rate. The proposed 5-year levy will annually raise nearly $5 million for the benefits of students, staff, and the community of Preston County. The proposed levy will actually result in the reduction of taxes compared to our current tax scenarios. The Levy Committee has put together resources that can be found on their website. The proposed levy call will continue to focus on building and school maintenance that's helped the county to make significant progress in maintaining our 10 schools that were built or renovated as a result of the 2010 school bond. To say, I think an important measure is the fact that we've also tried to utilize levy funds to seek out potential funds at the state level. We have garnered over $3 million from the School Building Authority for projects since 2018. We have put forth a little over $700,000 for those projects. I think that's a great expenditure and use of our monies, as that we're trying to grow the monies that have been devoted to in areas of maintenance to the betterment of our students. The school levy has also provided enhanced safety and security measures in our schools, such as the hiring of a school resource officer, upgraded camera and key card access systems. As stated earlier, we don't have cameras in all locations, but we're actively working to resolve that. We literally have cablers at this time working at Terre Haute East Preston and Aurora School to ensure that they will have cameras in the near future. We've made a number of other upgrades in terms of key card access systems and many other things that have been mentioned earlier, I believe, by Mrs. Hayes. In addition, the levy also provides for the hiring of additional staff members and service personnel such as cooks, custodians, bus operators, secretaries to provide needed services for our students. Finally, other aspects of the levy include tech upgrades, funding for curricular and extracurricular trips, instructional supplies and materials, and summer learning activities for our students. I'm greatly appreciative of the support that has been provided to Preston County Schools by the citizens of the county, and hope they will continue to see the value of investing in our education and the needs of our children. The levy is vital to our students and our staff and is paramount to the continued success of Preston County Schools. Please vote yes for the school levy during early voting starting on May 1st and beginning on May 14th. Thank you, and thank you for everyone being here tonight.
Well done, perfect timing. So thank you, Mr. Martin, and thank you, members of the Levy Committee. Thank you for hosting. There is a lot of food in the back. We thank you for sticking with us tonight, and to the online audience as well. So we hope this was informative as you vote between now and May 14th, and enjoy the evening.